What's up? A to Z Sports on a Monday. Welcome in, everybody. Hope you had a good weekend. We have the Super Bowl match is set. Looks familiar because it's the one we saw just a couple of years ago. We're going to dive into that and react to the matchup at hand. Chiefs versus the Eagles. But the Titans got their first look at Shedeur Sanders at the East-West Shrine game. We'll play a little bit of clip from Brian Callahan talking about the secret weapon the Titans were sending to have that firsthand look at Shedeur Sanders. And then I think if you watched both those games yesterday, you saw one thing that Brian Callahan is wanting to find in his next quarterback. And it's not the fact that he's just Patrick Mahomes and is going to go to his like fourth straight Super Bowl or whatever it feels like. But Zach, we're going to have a good conversation about what the Titans are looking for the next quarterback and trying to have a topic to marry the quarterbacks we watched yesterday on Championship Sunday and the quarterbacks that the Titans are looking for between Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. So we'll have an age game to wrap up this Monday. I feel like we haven't had an age game in a while because we just had a lot of different things to get to here the last couple Mondays. But Zach, welcome in. Hope you had a good weekend. Top saying fly, Eagles fly. I don't know. We'll have to find out if America is going to be more Eagles or more Chiefs, because I feel like America's like, man, we just had Ohio State, Notre Dame. Now we got Chiefs, Eagles. What are we supposed to do here?
Yeah, do you go for history and just say, all right, we've gotten this far, you might as well root them on to get to the three-peat, or do you lean into the redemption story of Philly and Jalen Hurts, the only quarterback making his debut, getting back to that game?
Yeah.
Pretty impressive. So can he redeem couple of years ago, that performance, which was a good game, high-scoring game. We'll see if it's also a high-scoring game. So a lot of football to talk about, a lot of topics that we'll get you guys involved in. We are broadcasting live on 3 different platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We got you locked in right there. We will tweet out segment by segment, link by link, our YouTube link to our Twitter/X handle at A to Z Sports. Follow us there. Great Titans coverage at ATOZ Sports right there on X. If you're an NFL-wide fan, you can cover and follow our NFL company-wide X handle at A to Z Sports NFL. So you can keep searching right there. And the best way to interact with us on these live shows is to subscribe, like, and ring the bell on our YouTube channel. We are at 19,900 and something. And so we need to get to 20,000. You guys can help us get to 20,000 subscribers. 20K had really good, and we'll dive into this, really good feedback from Easton's Brian Callahan interview, which surged our subs, which is great. Continue to help us out by subscribing. If you've already subscribed, you can like this video. It helps the algorithm and spread the love around on our channel. And then get the live alerts when we go live. You get notified by pushing the bell icon on YouTube. Facebook, what's going on, Facebookers? Bottom left corner of your screen, share now to public. Sharing is caring, and caring is sharing, as we say on this show. So share the show around. We need to pop up in your Facebook friends news feed. A lot to get to on this Monday morning. Let's get this party started.
Yep, let's do it officially. Welcome to A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Zach Bingham. We're Nashville's on-demand sports network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. Hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. Give us that 5-star Google review if you haven't already. And also, got to thank our sponsors. They make it happen for us, and they help out all of you. Wilson County Hyundai, make them a part of your new car buying process. WilsonCountyHyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans, get better with your health coverage. FBHP.com/ATOZ. T-Dots, keeping our state beautiful. Visit their campaign, NobodyTrashes Tennessee.com. And our new friends at Bart Durham Injury Law. Crash can change your life forever. Help is just a click away at BartDurham.com. Speaking of Bart Durham, real quick, because Zach, it's also Senior Bowl week. And so at some point today, Easton and Sam will share a car ride together for 6.5 hours down to Mobile, Alabama. I'm sure they will get into arguments just like the Step Brothers before they became best friends about the draft and about all these things. And so all of our Senior Bowl coverage for the rest of the week will be brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. So shout out to BartDurham.com for all that. So we're going to have a killer week of content because of what Easton and Sam are going to be doing at the Senior Bowl in Mobile for the next 4 days after today. And they'll be doing the shows from the Airbnb house down there at Mobile. So that's a fun thing we'll get to as well. But you did mention off the top the Brian Callahan interview that Easton did last week, which did fantastic. And we're glad we got to play that in place of our Friday morning show last week. But we haven't had a real big chance to react to it because of the Mike Borgonzi press conference schedule. We had to drop the Brian Callahan interview on a Friday morning. So, Zach, your initial reactions before we get to Super Bowl matchup, trying to find the right quarterback, your overall thoughts on the job Easton did, almost 90 minutes in length with Brian Callahan last week.
Well, my honest opinion, obviously we knew that it was going to happen, and we worked with the scheduling of it. My first reaction is I don't think this is a good idea for a coach that just won 3 games, picking first, had a disastrous season, had his highs and lows, a lot more lows than highs, to do a full-length interview. I don't know. If I was a PR guy in his corner, I don't know if I'd do that. But it actually, I was wrong. I thought Brian Callahan, and this was not scripted. We got to fully tell you, it's not scripted. This was a conversation. And just like these shows, these morning shows aren't scripted, we set ourselves up to have conversations. But that's what Easton did a fantastic job, and Callahan, of having a fluid conversation about what just happened after year 1 of his head coaching career. And I thought he came off as honest, respectful, knowledgeable, understanding, and I think self-aware. And I think that's hard to do in today's age of the media trying to get you. That was not what this interview was. And I thought Brian Callahan did a really good job. I think he also answered some questions that I was curious about. Yeah. There were some other questions that I would love him to dive a little bit deeper, but I know the politics of it. When you ask somebody about their boss, they're going to say nice things. I mean, that's how it goes. But I thought all around, and I hope, at least from what I'm seeing on the Twitter streets, it was well received by the public. I hope they enjoyed it as well.
I mean, I enjoyed it. I thought this was a really good insight into what Brian Callahan's true thoughts are. I think people appreciated everything that you said, Zach, the transparency and the willingness for Brian Callahan to be open. And, Easton, I thought, did a good job handling it. And so Kendall says Easton earned his spot with the interview. And he said, well, he already earned his spot to me, but to the other Easton haters out there, I think that was a good thing for Easton, obviously. Top says, so did Callie have any off-limit questions before the interview? No, there was nothing that was said about, hey, don't ask me about this, don't ask me about that. It was full game. And as you say, when you're asking about the bosses, you're always going to get the best answer about the bosses. But I think Brian Callahan was very open, and I thought transparent from everything that I had heard about what Easton and Brian had talked about going into the things.
Well, I also think it humanized him a little bit. And that's, you need that, especially after a struggle season. We know who Andy Reid is. I mean, I know he loves cheeseburgers. I know the dynamic, right? We've spent years getting to know Andy Reid. And Brian Callahan, after somewhat of an unknown commodity prior to the hiring frenzy of last year, this was good. And so I think positives all around. And I think, he didn't play any of his cards of what's going to happen here in the next several weeks or months. But I do think that we got a little bit of introspective of what his mindset is heading into this offseason as a coach. Here's the one thing I'll say. I was critical all season. I think he has a good scheme, and his philosophy on football is what hired him, right? I think that has always been his strength. I thought leadership as a head coach is something that he needed to work on. I saw that, and from things that I was hearing, I saw that firsthand. I respected and enjoyed that he recognized that.
Yeah.
That's important. That's the self-awareness that you want from your football coach. Again, whether he's here for 10 years or 2, I like that. And so he can go solve the problem now, understanding some of the problem.
Yeah. Self-aware is a big deal with all that. So look, Bustin' Diamond, very open and honest, seemed like he was super reflective over how everything went poorly last year. And I think it's an interview that got pushed back, right? Like the plan was to do this the week after the Titans lost in the season finale to the Jags. Rand gets fired. That pushes everything back in Callahan's schedule. And then the interview session pushes everything back in Callahan's schedule. And I think it actually worked out a little bit better because, one, they had already hired Mike Borgonzi by the time Easton and Callahan talked. And two, it gave Brian Callahan a little bit more time to reflect. You're doing reflection in the moment, but still having that extra week maybe of sitting down and truly going through different scenarios. What would I do differently? I think that was pretty impactful overall. So there was one question that Easton sent Brian Callahan ahead of time because he wanted him a chance to really think about the answer to the question. And that was a member of the coaching staff that is under-realized, underappreciated, under-acknowledged. And that was Peyton McCollum, who is a offensive quality control coach for the Tennessee Titans this past year under Brian Callahan. But Peyton McCollum was already getting some recognition in social media and the news cycle because Peyton McCollum was and is the quarterback's coach of one of the teams in the East-West Shrine game this past weekend and going on now in Dallas, which is where Shedeur Sanders was going to be. And so the Titans were going to get a firsthand look at Peyton McCollum coaching up Shedeur Sanders before the draft process really gets going. So here was the answer on who is Peyton McCollum and his importance on this coaching staff and getting the first look at one of the top, if not the top quarterback in the draft of Shedeur Sanders at the Shrine game.
But the guy that brings probably the most unsung hero-ness is Peyton McCollum, who I think people are starting to see a little bit of. He's going to go coach the quarterbacks down to East West.
Yes, he is.
But he is sort of like,
by the way, if people are wondering which quarterbacks, yeah, I mean, also some others, right? Max Brosmer, Brady Cook, exciting.
Yeah, there's some guys that we got to take a look at.
Right.
But it's now he gets hands-on experience with them for a week of coaching them and teaching them and interacting. So it's great for him personally, for his development. It's great for us to have, one of our people with sort of boots on the ground in that game. And but he is a machine. And what I mean by that is the amount of work that he does sort of behind the scenes of keeping things organized for practice and cards for practice and breakdown. And, the quality control coaches, on every side of the ball are sort of your lifeblood, and no one really understands what they do or how they do it. But I will say this, it when you don't have a really good one. Everybody feels the effect of it because things aren't done the way they need to be done. But when you have a really good one, the way the process works is almost seamless because they just handle things. One of the things the quarterbacks joke about all the time is when things come up, they just start yelling to each other, just handle it. And when you got guys that can handle it, whatever comes up, they can solve problems, they can fix things. They don't need anybody to tell them what to do. They just do it. They can anticipate problems. He is one of the best ones I've been around when it comes to handling it, and being on top of it and making sure everyone has what they need. He's a fantastic young coach. And he'll get an opportunity to coach here sooner than later, but for what he does and how he does it, he's invaluable to our process, I think. And no one's going to ever give him that credit probably except for me publicly, because that's just not things that people care about as much. But man, he's really, really, really good at what he does, and he's a tremendous asset to us on offense.
So a tremendous asset was the one who was getting his hands-on coaching experience of Shedeur Sanders over the weekend at the Shrine Bowl practices and meetings and everything that goes in that in Dallas. So Zach, before we get into our Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward conversation we have here, I mean, I think everybody could use a Peyton McCollum in their life, right? Somebody that just knows how to handle it, knows how to get things done, and just can anticipate your problems. But I think those are pretty highly spoken words by the head coach on a guy that nobody knew the name of until it came out that he was going to be coaching in the East-West Shrine game.
Well, eyes on the ground, younger. You know what I always think of? And I've made this reference before. It's like any corporate chain of climbing the ladder, right? You got to maneuver your way, and coaches, they move, right? You're constantly finding and growing and expanding your network, but you're also developing your skills. I always use this reference, Eric Spoelstra, videotape guy, right? And his rise to being a championship level head coach, and he's maintained that, but it started grinding film in the bottom of the Miami Heat facility, right? This is an opportunity with these all-star games, right? You come in there, it's, you're a younger coach, so you can kind of probably relate to the younger player a little bit more, right? You don't have the older, and I know Brian Callahan is a young head coach in that sense, but the assistants are younger, right? And so they develop skills, they develop relationships, and I think that players are more apt to be open to them, right? And so I think it's a really good setup. What kind of recon can they find out about Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward? That's very, very important, especially because they're not playing in the game, right? Like Shedeur's not playing. He's not really practicing. Like you're going to have to do a little bit extra work, but that's positive because the number one priority for the Tennessee Titans franchise is improving their quarterback play. They have to. It's been bad for a while, and they need to get a higher ceiling there, and they got an opportunity to do that with the number one overall pick.
Without a doubt. So let's ask this question here, and we'll have a couple of different conversations about quarterbacks today. We'll get into the Super Bowl matchup later on as well. But what's the number one thing the Titans need to learn about both Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward before the draft? What's the number one thing the Titans need to learn about both these guys, Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward, before the draft? Getting an up-close look at Shedeur Sanders with Peyton McCollum coaching there at the Shrine Bowl. We'll get to all of your answers and thoughts here, but first, I want to tell you guys about our new friends at the Bart Durham Injury Law Group. A crash can change your life forever, and help is just a click away at bartdurham.com. Blair is a Marine veteran who is running the show after his father, Bart Durham, who passed last April. It started the brand and all the influence that the Bart Durham Injury Law has had in Nashville since beginning business in 1975. They're out there for you. They're out there for us as Nashvillians, Tennesseans, whatever they can do. Your big truck wreck or any wreck is Bart Durham's fight for justice, and they can be reachable for you at any point in time, 24/7 to get your legal questions answered. Their phone number, just about as easy as it comes, 615-242-9000. You can also go to bartdurham.com for any live contact or chat right there. You've got current news and blogs you can interact with and learn about how to handle certain situations on the roads when things go wrong. You deserve to be paid for what you go through, and attorneys are always available to meet with you, whether it's convenient in person or virtual as well, at bartdurham.com.
A to Z Sports, we are powered by BetMGM. Download the BetMGM app today. The sportsbook born in Vegas had a day yesterday, and what helped is Patrick Mahomes passing for over 225 yards there at the end. That was a good game. The Eagles game was not that good of a game. It was a blowout, but Chiefs-Bills lived up to the hype. Probably not the outcome that I feel like most Americans wanted, but that's football. You've got basketball, a huge slate of games. I've already got my eye on some NBA props when I woke up this morning. Get in on the action with BetMGM by downloading the app in your Apple or Android app store. That's BetMGM. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports.
All right, Zach, I will send you to the chat, and it's an open-ended question here, and I'm curious to see where the chat's going to go. But what's the number one thing the Titans need to learn about Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward before the draft? What are you seeing from Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch? By the way, if you haven't done it yet, hit that like button, like the show. Zach, what do you see?
Well, interesting. Steven comes out hot and says nothing. Shouldn't draft either of them. So Steven's going a different route with the number one overall pick. Andre says mental capacity, maturity level from IR. Connor saying they're not generational talents. I think insinuating, talking about the two top prospects in this year's draft. It factor. I've seen it factor more. Drew says Cam has the it factor, and Tafari says it has to. That's what they should focus on. Who has the it factor? how can you vet that, right? How do you figure that out? If it was easy, then everybody would draft the right quarterback in the right situation. Clutch gene, the upstairs, talking about up top, both of their films, got to learn IQ and character. So 2 for 1 right there. Team first player. Can you be a team first player, a team mentality? I thought, and we'll talk about these quarterbacks a little bit later on in the show, but Zach Ertz talking about Jaden Daniels. You have a very mature, seasoned vet tight end talking about a young rookie quarterback. That told me a lot after their loss yesterday. That's the type of player that you want. I think the Commanders have that in Jaden Daniels. DeMarco's going more technical in footwork, turnover rate. Not a lot of interceptions thrown. Shedeur threw 10 last year. That was the most out of his collegiate career. Cam Ward,
4.
7.
Yeah, I want to say 4. Shedeur threw 10 this past season?
Yes.
I thought it was less than that.
37 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Let's see here. Go back to it factor, IQ, eyes in the pocket, I think is a good, we've got a lot of different answers, and I think that's valuable. What, in your opinion, Austin, if you're looking at this, what's the number one thing the Titans need to learn about Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward prior to the draft and had an opportunity over the last several days?
Well, I think the interesting part of the question is prior to the draft, because a lot of people answered it factor. Can you actually learn somebody's it factor during the draft process from now through the draft? I think that maybe we can follow up on that in a second, because I think that's interesting. My number one thing is mental processing, because I think athletically, Cam Ward is the better athlete. We know that. Shedeur Sanders is not a phenomenal, crazy athlete. He is not going to extend. He's not Jaden Daniels. He's not Josh Allen. He's not Jalen Hurts. He's not Mahomes from an athletic standpoint. He is lesser than all those guys. He might be a lesser athlete than Will Levis, but I think he's got a better mental processor. I think he's got a better feel for playing the quarterback position. So I want to see, is Cam Ward going to be able to process that way? I think Cam Ward is more of an improv guy and more of a thriving in a little bit of chaos type situation. So I want to learn their mental processing, because one thing that I think we all learned about Will Levis and confirmed about Will Levis is that he is not at his best when he has to think too much, that it is a one read, throw it, or do something else. It is a play action deep shot because there's only 2 receivers out there on the route because everybody else is protecting off the play action look. That's where Will Levis plays better. Brian Callahan talked about that at length in his interview with Easton that we aired on Friday, and you can go check that out on our YouTube channel. I want to say that's like minute 38, 39 or so when they walk through that. So I think it's all about mental processing. How do they mentally process with the timing, the quickness, and their ability to see the field? So mental processing is the one thing that I think they absolutely have to find out. Can they handle it between Shedeur and Cam Ward?
Yeah, well, I think a couple of things that we already know about those two, right? I think first and foremost, they have confidence. Both of them do, right? Yeah. Swag, whatever you want to call it, right? And I think you need a little bit of that. You can't be too overconfident, but they're not shy guy. You know, they've got confidence within them. I think they've had success in college based on both of their programs. You know, Miami is not a powerhouse football. You know, you're not the 90s. Michael Irvin is not here, right? And Colorado, we've talked about that at length. To be able to do what they were able to do at Colorado, they were a 1-win, 2-win team when they joined, and ended up being very good based on the players, right? So I think your answer is a very good one, because it comes back to what can you get in the short amount of time prior to the draft, right, of interaction. I'm going to go a little bit of what I saw last year when Brian Daboll was talking to the quarterbacks, talking to wide receivers. I don't know if you've seen those draft specials where they're up on the I love the whiteboard. Say what you want about John Gruden, but you love the Gruden grinder. Hey, why don't you go up there on the board and show me Spider 2Y banana, man? And what does that represent? So I'm going to go retention rate. I want to know how quickly you can remember what I'm talking about in a conversation. If you listen to, and I don't know why, maybe I'm just a junkie. I'm an addict, but I watched Ben Johnson's Chicago Bears opening presser, and I'm sitting here and I'm listening to him because I didn't know that much. I felt like the Lions, who I think we all kind of fell in love with, or a lot of people did, because of what Dan Campbell represented, what they represented, right? But the guy behind the mask was Ben Johnson, this character that had all this opportunity, decided to go back, and finally is taking the jump. And what he said, and I thought this was interesting, was we're not bringing over Jared Goff's playbook. We are going to redesign a playbook specialized for Caleb Williams. This is a Caleb Williams playbook. Now, if it will work, we'll find out. But what that tells me is it's the same thing for the next guy that comes in. You've got to be able to retain information very, very quickly. Now, I don't want to take the same thing that you said, because I agree with when the ball is in your hand, you got less than 2.3 seconds to make the right decision, not just a decision, the right decision. But I also want to know, do you know the playbook? Do you know the plays? Do you know the checks? Do you know to go up to the line of scrimmage and correct Chigakonkwo to go to the left side instead of the right side, because you know every player's position and route and job and assignment? And that takes mental fortitude, but it also takes retention. And that's something that I think you can get from an interview. You can get that from a conversation by testing. I mean, why are we here? Teams are sitting here and saying, I'm here because I'm trying to figure out if we want to pay you a boatload of money to be the face of our franchise. So I'm going to ask you some hard-ass questions. I'm not throwing softballs. Tell me, X waggle G24 C hook. I want you to, and then I want you to talk, and I want you to ask. I'm going to ask you again. That is mental retention. What's your retention rate? That's the one thing I need to find out.
I think that's obviously huge, but everybody here took classes in high school or college or whatever that you did not give a damn about, right? But you had to still take the test, right? So did you cram and memorize the information, or did you fully entertain and understand the information? There's a difference in just word vomiting back to what the coach said about the play call, but do you understand the nuances and the details and the different progressions throughout that play or throughout that scheme, right? Do you understand the scheme, or do you just remember the scheme?
Well, and that's why the whiteboard's so important, because the concept of football, I mean, everybody has their different language and dialect, right? Of what we call what, but the concepts are the same. And I feel like coaches, especially quality control coaches that should be grinding film and tape, and I think you can come to that common ground of, all right, it takes two to tango. How is the coach interacting with the player too? What did you guys call this? Okay. So, I mean, but you can find out, I think, a lot from a football conversation. I'm not talking about the other extracurriculars. I'm talking about straight ball. And I think that's very important, because you're not going to get to see them playing in the games. That's not, things have changed. They've already created their value. Cam Ward sitting out the second half of the bowl game tells you everything you need to know, right? Like, this is this era's game. Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders saying, I've done everything that I need to do. Now it's up to you to make your decision. But let's have a conversation, right? They're still willing to do that to kind of sell themselves outside of the tape.
Yeah. So, all right, one thing I want to come back to is, can you learn if the quarterback has the it factor in the pre-draft season? So I want us to answer that. Can we find out if Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders have the it factor based on their pre-draft process and their pre-draft, involvement in these pro days, combine, bowl games, all the different meetings. Real quick, TDOT is how you can help keep our state beautiful. TDOT's out there spending millions of dollars every year to keep our state beautiful, but we can all pitch in to make it easier on them, maybe save some money, and also learn how to be involved in our community. NobodyTrashesTennessee.com is the website. Go find out how you, your family, your kids can get involved as the weather gets a little bit warmer this spring. More volunteer opportunities out there at NobodyTrashesTennessee.com. If you want to save some money and some tickets to local events, NobodyTrashesTennessee.com. How about that? You help save the state and end littering, or find a solution to end littering while saving some money on some local event tickets right there at NobodyTrashesTennessee.com.
A to Z Sports powered by BetMGM. Download the BetMGM today. Use that bonus code if you're a new user, ATOZ Sports, all one word, no spaces, ATOZ SPORTS. The sportsbook born in Vegas is in Tennessee, so download the app today.
Zach, do you think the Titans can find out if any of these players have the it factor during the pre-draft process? Like from now until draft day, can they learn if a player has the it factor without being with them on the field in a game situation to truly see how they respond when things are live?
I'm going to agree with Jeff or Amber. I don't know who it is. It's Jeff and Amber. No. And we had a lot of people say no. No way from Dustin. No, it's already on tape. Lane, no, it's already based on that. Corey says, yes, you could tell a lot about a person just chatting with them for the hour, but I don't think that's what we're talking about. I think we're talking about the it factor. I think you can have a gut feeling. You can take an assessment, but you don't really know. The measure of a man or woman is when pressure is applied. I fully believe that. It's not when things are going right. It's when things are going wrong. And I don't think you can have things go wrong in a conversation like they would in a AFC or NFC championship game down by 7, right? And so I think the answer is no. That's more to it. Even when you're going through a hiring process, you interview people and you say, wow, I really like that person. But it doesn't mean that the it factor in the NFL is on a whole nother level. It is, speaking of odds, you're playing the odds, and the odds aren't great that you are going to get that guy. There's just been too many quarterbacks go through the system that haven't had it. It's hard to have it, or it takes a little bit longer to develop it. Jared Goff and Baker Mayfield, two just off the top of my head, they took a little bit longer to develop it. Alex Smith took a little bit longer to develop it. So I think my answer is no.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just, now you can look at their tape in college and say, yeah, this guy had it playing
a different game though.
Right. But like, what's the next level up? And that's, I think, the wild thing of like, when we watched Mahomes yesterday, we all know he's got whatever it represents because we've seen it now for the last 7 seasons, but we didn't see any of that at Texas Tech because it was not applicable, right, at Texas Tech. But Cam Ward at Miami, I think he's got some of those features, those it factor features at Miami. But when you're playing against Cal and Berkeley at midnight Eastern time in the fourth quarter, like, okay, it's Cal. It's not like it's, a big time NFL matchup, but he came through when he needed him. So that's at least one, thing you needed to pass, one test you had to pass. Will Levis did not have it. And I think I saw that from his time at Kentucky. Josh Allen, does he have it? To be determined, because it hasn't clicked yet. So I say no. I don't think you really can until you get in there at the NFL level and find out for yourself.
Yeah,
which complicates everything.
Josh Allen does have it. You can't. Lamar Jackson has it, right? We didn't think that would work in the NFL from Louisville, but it did, right? So it factor is not just Patrick Mahomes, right? Patrick Mahomes has a super stellar it factor. Like yesterday, if everybody watched the game, he mentally knew he needed to run more to get first downs. He doesn't do that as much, right? He had the most rushing yards in his playoff history. God knows he's played a ton of playoff games, right? Like that is a super level of it factor, but you can have an it factor. Jaden Daniels so far looks very similar to what we saw at LSU, right? Jaden Daniels Lamar Jackson is pretty interesting because they're having very similar success. It has to happen over a longer period of time. Don't get me wrong, but I think I look at both of these quarterbacks, and Cam Ward, I think, has the skill set, the arm, like the things that you need. My worry is he also sometimes stands flat-footed and just relies on his arm. That's not good technique. That needs coaching, right? Can he develop and accept that coaching? I don't know. I think that's kind of where I'm questioning. Shedeur Sanders doesn't have all of the attributes that Cam Ward has, but he can make plays. I think he's more apt to make plays with his legs. And the athletic ability, look at the 4 quarterbacks over this past weekend. They all can make that play. They all can make that first down when it's 3rd and 13 and they scramble for 14 and a half yards for the first down, right? I think Shedeur has that. But can you do that at the highest level in the NFL? It's hard to transition to that.
Yeah, to go back to a Titans conversation, like I think when you're talking about the it factor and like, but can you be coached on the technique stuff? Vince Young had the it factor, but was unwilling to be coached and to progress when it came to footwork and other techniques to take him to that next level. I think Cam Ward, I saw the Louis Riddick comment about Cam Ward that he's a cold-blooded killer, which is great, and that's awesome. But like at Miami, in the ACC, and like this current version of the ACC, being a cold-blooded killer in the ACC doesn't mean you're still going to be that in the NFL. That's intriguing to me. After I saw that, I wanted to learn more about Cam Ward, but I'm still not just going to say, oh, he's a cold-blooded killer. That means it's going to work in the NFL like it does for these other guys who just know how to make the back-breaking, demoralizing play to your opponent when you have to have it the most. Because Josh Allen was unable to do that last night. And if you want to say Josh Allen has the it factor, I'm not sold on that yet, because somebody that has the it factor converts the ball on one of those quarterback sneak attempts. They does something to figure it the hell out and not leave it up to the most complicated review that we've seen in a while.
Well, you can have the it factor. You're just playing a guy with more of an it factor. I mean, Lamar Jackson has gotten the same place that Josh Allen has gotten, but they hadn't gotten to the Super Bowl, either of them, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So, but they both have the it factor. I mean, they're MVP candidates, right? So like, look, JJ Watt said this last night. A lot of people are saying this, like you were just in the Michael Jordan era, which is Patrick Mahomes era. And there's going to be the Jim Kellys, the Dan Marinos, the Karl Malones, and the John Stocktons. Like there are Charles Barkley, right? You're going to have the guys that come up short just based on the attempt. It's just not as good as the other guy.
Yeah, and look, like somebody's like the Josh Allen hate is weird. I'm not hating on Josh Allen.
I just disagree. I mean, he has the it factor.
But not enough of it. Like
the Titans would love to have the it factor of that.
It's relative, but the Titans aren't in that game. I'm talking about in that game.
No, they are in that game, Austin. They are in the game of finding somebody like
I'm talking
Josh
about
Allen.
The AFC Championship game. I'm talking about yesterday. The Titans are not in that game.
But what I'm saying, they're in the other game. The game of selecting somebody. If they got somebody that was like Josh Allen, and even if they lost to Patrick Mahomes all the damn time, everybody'd be like, I'll take that.
I'm not saying like we're having separate conversations.
Factor.
We're having separate conversations. Like we are.
I don't think so. I think we're having the same one, which is who has the it factor. That's what you were trying to draft somebody with.
There's levels of it. There's levels of it. And Mahomes has the most level of it.
Yes, right? That's what I'm saying. But
again, my thought is, how many times did they attempt that quarterback sneak push with Josh Allen yesterday? Like 7 times? 6? And
About.
how many times was it effective? Once, when he went over the top and damn near fumbled the ball away. Outside of that, it wasn't effective. Do something different.
Well,
Like,
is that on Josh Allen or is that on the players?
Both.
I mean, Philadelphia does that 8 out of 8 times, right?
Yeah,
well,
I know.
I'd say 7 out of 8 times, right?
Here's my synopsis of this. Josh Allen has to get lower. Josh Allen, get lower. You know,
how much is it the offensive line or Dallas Goedert pushing Jalen Hurts' ass?
Get lower. Get lower. Jalen Hurts is so low. Leverage wins. It's not that hard.
I understand, but that's why I don't think it's singular. But
I do. It's like,
so you're saying that Josh Allen does not have the it factor.
Josh Allen does it. No, I'm not saying he doesn't have the it factor. I'm saying he didn't have enough last night. He didn't have enough last night.
That's not kind of how it started. We're talking about guys drafting. It started with drafting somebody that has the it factor. Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, they have the it factor. Jalen Hurts has the it factor. You don't get to 2 Super Bowls, whether you win or lose, without having the it factor. The Titans are just looking for that guy. Does Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders have that it factor in the NFL? And then it goes back to you. I don't think you can tell that in a conversation.
Yeah, for sure. And again, going back to where this kind of got off, Josh Allen is an elite quarterback in the NFL. I'm not hating on Josh Allen, but the difference in winning, in beating Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City last night and losing to him are in the margins. And it's when you cannot convert on however many quarterback sneaks, that you got to learn from that. You got to get lower. Chris Jones's helmet blocked the ball on the line to gain for the review. Why is Chris Jones's helmet at 6'4" blocking the football? You're too high. You have to get lower. The reason why Josh Allen lost his all of his momentum is because he's up high getting pushed backwards. You got to get lower. You have to know how to win in those margins. That's the it factor, is knowing exactly what to do. And Josh Allen could not do that enough last night. That's all it is.
He's also 6'5".
I don't care. Get lower. Tom Brady was phenomenal at quarterback sneaks. Phenomenal. He's a wiry 6'5". It's all about it's technique, man. It's not hard. Low man wins. That's how it goes. You can get lower.
So I want to talk about this because I think that I think you can take a look at the 4 teams that we just watched over the weekend. And I've got a question for you on the other side of this because I think that there's a lot of similarities between the 4. Win or lose, if you're in an NFC, AFC championship game, you've done a lot for your team to get there, right? And look, 2 teams do more, but I do think that there's a factor of what the Titans can kind of look at. I'm going to ask you that question, but first I'm going to tell everybody about Farnborough Health Plans of Tennessee. Health, dental, and vision, 200-plus locations across the state of Tennessee. 75 years they've been in business. If you're a Tennessean and you need health coverage, Farnborough Health Plans can help you. They are trusted by the Titans, the Tennessee Volunteers, the Nashville Predators. They've partnered with them all because they've been in this market and they help people across the state. They can help you take a health assessment, then get a quote. It's absolutely free. That's Farnborough Health Plans of Tennessee, FBHP, Farnborough Health Plans, FBHP.com/ATOZ.
Also with BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas, you can go big. The big game's just under 2 weeks away. And if you haven't signed up yet with BetMGM, you can do that using our bonus code ATOZ Sports. That's ATOZ Sports to get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. It's a great time to do it. Years ago, Zach, you did this back when it was $500 back in bonus bets. It's triple that now. So take advantage of that and win big with the sportsbook born in Vegas with BetMGM only when you use our code ATOZ Sports. Zach, what just popped in your mind?
Well, I was just thinking back. That was the last time that Patrick Mahomes lost a Super Bowl, right?
It was. Right.
To Tom Brady. I won $2,000. Now I would have won like $6,000. I mean, Shout out to BetMGM. I was thinking about these quarterbacks. So if you look at them, I think they all have a singular trait. They're all athletic. They all can run. They all can get the first down with their legs. They are not a complete and utter pocket passer. Right. You know who's not on this graphic? A guy who we thought could be Jared Goff. He's not a scrambler. He's a pocket passer. He does things from the pocket, right? And there are quarterbacks throughout, the NFL. But I'll ask you this. Out of Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward, which of the two embody the traits that you see on this screen between Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Jaden Daniels? Because they're all unique, but they're all successful. They all had very successful seasons and playoff runs this year. So Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, who has more of what those guys have?
I mean, it's 100% Cam Ward. Like, without a doubt, it's Cam Ward. Zach, do you know how many rushing yards Shedeur Sanders had this year?
I do not.
-50.
Was that because his offensive line was an open gate?
Partly, yeah. But
I mean, that had been a critical piece for a while.
No, I mean, yes. The fact is, yes, but -50 like on 100 attempts. That's crazy, right? Like, Shedeur Sanders is a good athlete. He's not a great
counts
athlete.
as sack numbers, right?
I mean, I'm looking at ESPN.com. He's had.
I saw him get sacked for 27 yards in the bowl game.
I mean,
because he's trying to make a play. There's good and bad.
He has 42 sacks the passing stats have a sack column now. 42 sacks, rushing, 100 attempts, -50 yards. And he had 4 touchdowns, the longest 17. So I don't know if those 42 sacks are within the 100 rushing attempts.
They have to be. You would think.
They could be. But I don't know. I don't know if they are.
100 attempts, they'd have to be.
Because do you think Cam Ward only ran the ball 38 times all season?
When I think of Cam Ward, I don't think of a runner, right? I think of,
He is more of a runner than Shedeur is. Cam Ward's rushing stats.
As far as his stats go, but how you play, right? So the numbers don't lie, but they also don't tell all of the tape.
Cam Ward is Shedeur Sanders is more of a scrambler out of necessity. Cam Ward is more of a playmaker with his legs.
See, when I think of the two, I don't think of that. I think of Shedeur Sanders as having more of the Jaden Daniels ability.
No.
I do. That's what I think of.
That is opposite of what it is, though.
But Cam Ward is not a runner.
Cam Ward has 60 rush attempts for 204 yards and 4 touchdowns, which is 254 yards more than Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, but we talked about the sack numbers.
I mean, okay. All right. Cam Ward was sacked 22 times.
How many times was Shedeur sacked?
42. But we don't know that. We don't know what the rush numbers are in college. That's why I hate this. But Zach,
that's huge. You can't form the right opinion.
Zach, I will ask you to go ask any NFL draft analyst and say who is more of a runner between Shedeur or Cam. I would guess all of the people you would ask would say Cam Ward. All of them.
Will both of those? They'll be at the combine. They won't run. Well, they'll run the 40 at their pro day, probably.
If they run it at all.
And that's another thing. Like, that's what pisses me off, to be honest. Is like, it's a cat and mouse game, right? Between franchise and player and agent. It's don't do all of those things for them to make the best decision.
Well, I mean,
because both of these guys are going to get picked in the top 5, right? I don't see one dropping like Will Levis. I think they're both going to be the Giants. There's too many quarterback needy teams. So like the player has all of the leverage. So we don't truly get to know, like, how fast is Cam Ward? I don't think he doesn't look that fast, but he may be.
It's 40 times or 40 times, right? I think it's elusive, like being elusive, being slippery, and having a feel for it. You know how to feel the pressure, where it's coming from, and where to get out. I'm not worried about 40 times. If you want to use a combine drill to judge how athletic a quarterback is, I would say one of the cone shuttle drills is going to tell you more about than the 40.
I think that that definitely plays a part into it, but Jaden Daniels can run away from a middle linebacker. Jamarcus Russell couldn't, and I know that's a far way away, but I think that's what the knowledge I'm trying to attain from both of those guys is their full skill set. And I don't think they're helping the Titans by doing that.
Yeah. Well, but are they hurting themselves by doing it? Would they be hurting themselves by doing it?
Well, and Devin's saying Cam is faster than Sanders. Do you think that?
Yes. Yes. I think you're backwards on them. Like, I don't know. Like, Shedeur Sanders would never run if he didn't have to. Like, that's how he plays the quarterback position.
Yeah, he's pass first. Yes, I think both 100%. Of them are in that sense.
Both of them are, yes, but Cam
Which Ward is good. That's what you want. You don't want,
sure.
They
are not Jalen Hurts in college. So Cam Ward is
all right. I feel like this is the ups and downs of the draft season. You're out on Cam Ward a few weeks ago.
I don't think Cam Ward fits what Brian Callahan would want to do. Yeah.
So, but you think Cam Ward is better?
I didn't say that. I just said I think Cam Ward is more athletic runner.
What I asked you was, you're saying Cam Ward is more like these four quarterbacks.
In the specific question that you asked me, with their ability to make plays and pick up first downs with their legs, yes, Cam Ward is better at that than Shedeur is. But that doesn't mean I think one is better than the other. I think Shedeur Sanders is a better fit for the type of quarterback that Brian Callahan prefers. I think Cam Ward is more like, I can pick up 3rd and 8 with my legs if I have to.
So what's more valuable to a franchise? Drafting him based on the current coach that could be gone in 365 days, or drafting a quarterback based on his skill set of the longevity of his career?
Yeah, that's the question.
That's what I'm asking.
In my opinion, I think you always go player over coach.
So that's Cam Ward.
If you believe that Cam Ward is also the better passer. Again, you're asking me a question very specific.
Correct, because that's what we're talking about. Because I think it's fascinating. And look, there's a lot of time from now until the draft, but I'm trying to get a read on what your thought process is, because they both create value. I think Shedeur Sanders creates a ton of value with what he brings inside and outside. We all know about that. But if Cam Ward is the better prospect, then don't go the glitz and glam of Vince Young because he just had the best play in college football history. Go with the best quarterback, right? And that's a hard decision. Even if your coach, Brian Callahan's going to be like, I can coach any of them, right? You would think.
And then he learned that he can't coach Will Levis.
Well, he's not making the selection. Brinker has the final say, we think.
Yeah. I know. They're making it all together. Simply put, Shedeur Sanders would probably have a more successful season as a rookie than Cam Ward, but Cam Ward probably has a higher overall ceiling. Like, I think it's that type of situation.
But you said the same thing about Anthony Richardson, and that ceiling is
out on Anthony Richardson. I was out.
But you're saying, but no, in the conversation of having a higher ceiling, right?
It
doesn't always work out.
Yeah, I thought Anthony Richardson as a first-round pick was dumb the whole time. Dumb.
Well, you said he had the highest ceiling. Most everybody.
Athletic ceiling. Yeah, he's the most athletic quarterback to ever do anything at the NFL Combine, the history of the NFL Combine. Like, that's fact. I don't think he's a good quarterback. That's proving
the results are in.
Yes. So I mean,
do you think here? Greg says Sanders is proven. Do you feel like Sanders is more proven than Cam Ward?
Proven in what though? Like that. Look, all these things are like it's not that simple. It's not that simple as proven where and how and in what.
Yeah, Greg's saying that. I'm not.
No, I know. But like I don't know. Like proven how? He's proven that he can handle success and then he can handle distractions and other things like that and not let that throw him off his game. Shedeur Sanders has proven that he has good composure and drive, but that doesn't mean anything about him being an NFL quarterback. Now, he's better prepared because he's grown up in the NFL. Sure. But you can say you can't replicate the chip that Cam Ward's got on his shoulders, starting an incarnate word and going all the way to the Heisman Trophy finalist stage at Miami. That's a hell of a chip, right? Baker Mayfield's got some of that.
He's improved his teams everywhere he's go. I think both can say that, right? Like pretty vastly improved them. You know, this is not a Will Levis mediocre mid at Kentucky. It's not an Anthony Richardson bad at Florida. Like both of these players, I think that's somewhat of the exciting part is wherever they've gone, they have won.
Yes.
They may have not been undefeated or won the big game, but I do think that you can state that. And I think that's valuable in this picking process.
100%. There's another thing that these four quarterbacks that we saw play yesterday all have, and it's one of Brian Callahan's, if not the most important, it is the most important trait overall. But first, I want to tell you guys about the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Whenever you get hurt in life, you have to know who you can turn to and who you can trust. That is the Bone and Joint Institute because they've got dozens of doctors at the Bone and Joint Institute with a support staff, rehab facility, resources, and people there as well. So whenever that injury pops up, whether it's in sports or in life, the Bone and Joint Institute is the place to turn to. Online, book an appointment if you need them, when you need them, boneandjointtn.org.
It is esports powered by BetMGM. Download the BetMGM app today on your Android or Apple App Store. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports for new users. You get tons of different bonuses, promos. Again, tons of NBA going on today because they staying away from the NFL. Only one game yesterday. I think they got like 12 today. Get on the action. Prop madness, as they say right there at BetMGM.
All right, so I think of the four quarterbacks who watched yesterday, all of them do have the ability to keep their composure. I know earlier I was talking about how Josh Allen's it factor was not at the level as Mahomes is. That's a very difficult exam to pass and to beat Patrick Mahomes. But I do think all four of those guys do represent Brian Callahan's most important quarterback trait that he told Easton Freeze last week.
This pertains to Will, but it's also just a general question. When you misevaluate a player, how does that, as an evaluator, how does that affect how you look at the position going forward? Is it something where you maybe you have to guard against swinging too far the other way? Does it radicalize you against certain things? How does that affect your ability to move forward and find somebody that will work for something?
Well, I think you got to find. I think you're looking more for particular traits, you know, and one of the biggest ones that I see right now, and the ones that good quarterbacks I've been around is, it's going to sound a little bit strange, but what's their nervous system like? You know, what is it? What do they look like when things break down? How do they operate when the pocket is muddy? How do they operate under critical duress and critical pressure? You know, those are the things that I look at. And how does their brain essentially respond? You know, how does their body respond to those stressors? I think a really good example of what, you know, incredible poise and calmness looks like is just you watch Jaden Daniels play.
First name that came to my mind when you said
the moment's never too big for him.
Yeah.
Pressure never rattles him. You know, he's efficient in his movement. He's efficient in his delivery. That's kind of what I mean by that. And look, Jaden is turning out to be what might be an incredibly rare prospect that, you know, I would say probably, look, he was taken second overall, so like nobody missed on him. You know what I mean?
Right.
They knew he was a good player, but I'm just saying he was. I think he's exceeded whatever expectations a lot of people maybe had of him, and it's been kind of cool to watch as a fan of quarterback play. But his poise is incredible, and that's what you have to have. And then you watch the great players in our league, and I mean, you look at Mahomes and Burrow and Allen and Lamar. I mean, you watch these guys play ball. Stafford. There's something about how they operate, and like I said, their nervous system is a huge part of that. And then there's three things that I always look at, and it's decision making, timing, and accuracy. That's quarterback play in the NFL. And
so there's Brian Callahan there, the nervous system of always keeping your poise. And even though the Commanders did not win, they got blown out yesterday. I don't think anybody came
turnovers.
Nobody came away from that game being like, man, the moment was too big for Jaden Daniels. No, the moment was too big for Dimey Brown, for Austin Eckler, for Jeremy McNichols. For all these guys. Moment too big for most, but not Jaden Daniels and not Zach Ertz either, too. So, but I think that the nervous system thing is huge. It's how can you compose yourself when everything is in the moment of all moments, and all four of those guys we watched yesterday have it.
And the big question is, can you figure that out prior to selecting them?
Yeah.
And if there's a formula and everybody knew what was going to happen, they would have drafted everybody would have drafted the right guy, right? So that I think is the fun of what happens in the NFL draft and how it, what it represents is who's doing the studying, the homework on these players, and then what teams have the opportunity to take them for the fit of their current franchise. The Washington Commanders were the second worst team in the NFL last year and now are playing one game away from the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. That's the beauty of this league. Now, you could also stay in the bottom of the barrel like the Jags have for a long, long time, regardless of the quarterback. You may get and have a good year, 1 year, but it may not be sustainable. And so the Titans really have to work on with their new leadership and some of the changes that have been made. How do they have sustainable success? I'm not talking about Kansas City's sustainable success, but the Philadelphia Eagles have been pretty consistent, right? They've spent a lot of money and they've gotten a lot of wins from that, right? The Titans are a few years from being in that situation, but they got to figure out how to have sustainable success, especially with a new stadium around the bend.
Yeah. And I think when it comes down to the last couple of drafts, I think when it comes to quarterbacks, everybody got obsessed with like traits, right? Traits this, traits that. Oh my gosh, look at all these traits. But are you good? Do you have the ability to play at a high level in those big moments with whatever traits you have? Like Anthony Richardson's got all the traits in the world, but he's not very good at using those traits. Will Levis, similar. And I think when you're looking at the four quarterbacks, do they have the best traits? Jalen Hurts didn't have the best traits at all. Like
Jalen Hurts has improved his
but like he wasn't like
set.
But he has never been a traitsy quarterback, right? But he just gets it.
Yeah, he's a gamer, right? Like he will find a way to get a first down. That's what you want.
Right.
Can you do that?
Yeah, you have to have enough traits to pass the check, yes or no. Does he have NFL quarterback traits? Enough of them? Yes or no? I don't care. Above that line, it doesn't matter if you don't have the mental stuff, the nervous system stuff to actually use those traits in the biggest moments to succeed.
Yeah, but that's the separator. Everybody drafted in the first round in the NFL has those, right? It's the additional. It is what the chat has been talking about is the it factor. Mm-hmm. And that's the hard part to diagnose as a franchise. But damn, the Titans got to do it. They can't mess around, or they've already started. They're a small market team. Now they're the worst team. You don't want to start being a joke. And Derrick Henry helped them, kind of prevented them from being a joke because of just his status and what he represented. You got to go find that next figurehead that can get you into some meaningful games. And I think the one good thing is the opportunity is there because it's the NFL, and you've seen if you draft the right player, it doesn't matter what franchise, you can turn this thing around, right? The Bills, between Jim Kelly and Josh Allen, there was a bunch of JP Lossmans in between, right? But they turned their franchise around with the right guy. The Titans, they got the pick of the litter. Make the right choice. And I don't know what that choice is. I'm still trying to figure it out.
I think we all are. Sean Gill says, what about Jackson Dart? I think Jackson Dart is a guy who probably has all the traits. He can probably make all the throws. He's probably going to test well athletically, can move, can run, explosive. Does he have the nervous system to not turn the ball over 4 times in Gainesville to keep the playoff hopes alive?
Look, I'm an Ole Miss guy, true and true. I've seen every snap that Dart played as an Ole Miss Rebel. No, that's my answer. In the Titans situation, Dart can be a fit for somebody else. But I've said this. You've got a quarterback problem, and you've got the number 1 overall pick in the draft. Draft a mother effing quarterback. Don't go get Sam Darnold. Don't go try to put a Band-Aid. This is your opportunity. The players are the players. Draft a quarterback. Don't get cute. And taking Carter and falling and drafting Dart is cute. And I think cute ends up you at the bottom of the league.
For sure. All right, Zach, you ready? Oh, wait, we have a couple super chats that we need to get to from the top of the show. Kick of the King comes in, says ceiling for Shedeur is Jalen Hurts. Floor is 2016 prime Marcus Mariota pre-broken leg, which people seem to forget how good he was. Yeah, Marcus Mariota pre-broken leg was phenomenal. He was the AFC Player of the Month in November and was putting up some good numbers, and then it all kind of went to hell there. I think
breaking of the leg didn't change his trajectory, in my opinion.
I think it did. I think it messed up his mental. I do.
He's going to be the same guy. It could.
Look, I mean, inevitably, Marcus Mariota would have been a backup quarterback for like 10 years, but I do think it delayed. I think the broken leg expedited his career path. So, Kick of the King coming back says, Shedeur will be the most unconventional pick since Baker, but will benefit the franchise for the long haul. Get QB1 first. So he had a two-parter super chat there. I think Shedeur and Jalen Hurts are very different players. But if the ceiling is he can get to the Super Bowl because you build like a badass roster around him, then cool.
Jalen Hurts has benefited off of who's been around him,
Yeah.
If Jalen Hurts has been on the Titans the last several years, they ain't in the same position.
No, Jalen Hurts is not elite at all. Like, he's not a Pro Bowl quarterback, but he's opportunistic and he's good with the right people. Noah comes in and says, I want them to learn his arm capacity. Talking about the quarterbacks, have a feeling he has a high arm potential, but potentially needs to rework some mechanics for more snap on it. Talking about the arm strength. Yeah, Shedeur doesn't have the strongest arm in the world, but can arm strength be improved with mechanics? Yes. How much? I don't know. But it's never going to be an elite arm. He's never going to be the Josh Allen, Jay Cutler, who can just fire it in there the last second between tight coverage windows. That's an interception when thrown by Shedeur Sanders. He's got to play with timing, which is, in my opinion, is more important.
Yep, I agree.
All right, you ready for a little bit of age game?
I am.
All right, time for the age game, but shout out to Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process. See them in Lebanon when you're needing a new car, a new ride. Payne Bone will help you out quite a bit there in Lebanon, online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Okay, Zach, I've got the chat hidden for the age game. What do we have today?
Pretty simple. I saw an interview with this person, and I'll tell you my feeling on it afterwards, but it made sense that what just happened over the weekend had the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles playing in another Super Bowl together in New Orleans. That made me think of one man that represents New Orleans. How old is Lil Wayne, the rapper, the artist, the icon, Lil Wayne?
Oh, man.
This is a good one. Be quick. Don't hurry, chat. You don't just throw numbers. Numbers don't get you the win because it's who's first.
This is tough because Wayne got such an early start.
16, the Hot Boys.
I know, but I'm trying to think like what year was that? Oh man.
The Hot Boys, the Hot Boys. I mean, that was a track.
I mean, I'm gonna have to piece this together because I mean, when he was 16, he sold his first Mercedes Benz. So I know that much. I'm going to say Wayne is 42.
Final answer?
Yeah.
42.
Which would have made him like 16 and 98-ish. I think I went a little old. But 42 is my answer.
42 final answer.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the chat they hurried. They weren't quick because the first several answers, swings and misses, as I get this graphic together. Let's go to the chat. 42 is Austin's answer. What is the chat's answer? 41 from Jay. First selection. Jay at 41. It's incorrect. Sean goes 42. That's wrong. Titans Kyle 41. He's with Jay and they're both wrong. Rashid 35. A little too young there, pal. American Toff goes 43. So they've sandwiched you. 43 is incorrect. 47 from Jonathan. That's wrong. 51. That's incorrect. 46. That is also incorrect. 48 is too old. So Alex and Corey, you're wrong. Lucas, 39. Incorrect. 43. You
already
said
was incorrect. I said 42.
Borkington. That is incorrect. David, 40. Wrong. Eric, 46. Wrong. Darius, 44. Wrong. 53. Amanda, they were hurrying. The chat was hurrying, and they've been wrong. 38. Incorrect. Austin, you and Dalton got it right there at 42. The champions of the age game.
That's right.
That's good.
Whew. I mean, you gave me somebody that I could piece together. So
opportunity. You and Dalton. Is Dalton from Roadhouse? It looks like Joe Burrow on his. Is that Joe Burrow or is that the lead singer of Green Day?
That's not Joe Burrow, but
Dalton. Well, you in our minds, you're Dalton from Roadhouse. You are correct, and we're going to put you up on the board. That's good. Dalton's a first-time champion.
That's good.
So there you go, Lil Wayne, which I'm sure will make some sort of appearance. Oh, Dalton is a two-time winner. Never mind.
Really?
Yeah, I just saw him. Now I got to change this. Two-time winner up there from Dalton. This thing's giving me fits.
Yeah, he says two-time winner now too.
Yep. I got you.
There's always contention in the chat, but hey, I'm glad. I feel like Lil Wayne I could get. I almost said 40 because I was thinking 16 in 2000 because I know like the Carter 3 came out in 08. And so I was really like how many I was working that back.
That's juvenile. That Dalton on the right side, 2-time champion. So way to go, Dalton. Still chasing Brock Kraft, who's a 5-time champion. Titans, Kyle, Orlando Jones, and Anthony. Dalton, you get 2 more age games, you get etched in gold. So that's always something to look forward to. But 42, congratulations. Austin, you and Dalton, winners.
What are you saying about juvenile?
You said working that back, and that's juvenile. So that's slow motion for you.
No,
See, it went over your head. I thought it was
because I was
quick,
thinking,
smart, and witty. Anybody in the chat that got that joke, shout out to you.
I was thinking of I was going backwards in math. But I mean, Lil Wayne was probably in a bunch of those juvenile songs. Okay, that's it for today's show. Tomorrow morning, we will have Sam from Mobile, Alabama, getting ready for the Senior Bowl. So make sure you hit that like button, like the show, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're closing in on 20,000 subs on YouTube. So you could be the 20,000th if you haven't done it yet. So make sure you hit that subscribe and like button before you go. We'll see you guys later on tomorrow morning, and also Buck Rising Live tonight for prime time. We'll catch you guys later on. Appreciate it as always.
Adios.